Well, I've got good news and I've got even better news. The good news is it's time for another unlimited Q&A video. And the even better news is much like the last two Q&As, I have a ton of questions. So I'm not even going to waste any time with this. Remember, I'm trying to do these Q&As every Wednesday. If you have any wrestling or sports questions, send them my way and I will answer them as best as I can. So let's get started. Jacob Gardaki, which is hilarious reading these questions because I was actually supposed to answer these last week and I just completely forgot to include them. So I'm answering them this week, and I'm answering them first. What is A, the hardest fantasy sport, and B, the hardest fantasy type to play? Hardest fantasy sport is probably football, just because of the amount of stats that you can have. Um, and the amount of positions there are, the amount of flexibility the rosters have. It's probably football. Hardest fantasy type, like head to head, roto, or points. Um, Probably head to head because, especially with football, the season is so short that if you get off to a bad start, you're probably good chance that you're done for the season, or you're if you do make the playoffs, you're not going to be like a top team. You're going to be sort of like the seventh or eighth seed, head to head, because even if on paper you have a better team than somebody else, sometimes they have better weeks than you do. Um, so head to head because of just how what's the word I'm looking for? Just how unpredictable it could be. So I would go with head to head. Should the NHL go to a 3-2-1-0 point system? 3 for regulation win, 2 for overtime win, 1 for overtime loss, and 0 for regulation loss? No. I think they should just keep the system they have. Some things I think don't need to be changed, and I think this is one of those things that don't need to be changed. So why change it? Since MLS is continuing their expansion, should they leave the league structure like it is with 2 conferences, do conferences and divisions, or one entire league table? They definitely should not do one entire league table. Especially if they get up to like 30, 32 teams. One entire league table, you want to kind of stand out from the other soccer leagues in the world. So doing an entire league table would just be similar to them, just basically be the same as them. I'd be fine with them doing just 2 conferences. I don't think you need to break it up by division. I think 2 conferences is perfectly okay. One sports venue you want to see before you die. Man, I've seen quite a few historical sports venues, like original Yankee Stadium and Madison Square Garden, and when we went up to Boston, the TD Garden. I would love to see Wembley Stadium. I would love to see Wrigley Field. Obviously, I've seen Fenway Park, but I would love to see Wrigley Field. I would have liked to see the original Shea Stadium because I'm a Mets fan, but unfortunately, I just never got that chance. If I had to pick one for If I had to pick one in Canada, even though it was kind of a crappy stadium, maybe Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Yeah, I'd probably go with them. If your favorite sports teams didn't exist, who would be your favorite teams today? Oh my goodness. My goodness. That is a great question. Um, I'm going to leave basketball out of this because I don't have a number 1 team. So if I don't have a number 1 team, how can I have a number 2 team? So I'll leave basketball out of this and I'll replace it with soccer. So let's say the Red Bulls didn't exist. Thing is, I don't really watch soccer enough to hate any team. So if I had to root for a team, I'm gonna go with Portland. I'll go with Portland. For the NHL, I'm going to go with Nashville. For the NFL, if the Patriots didn't exist, that one's a tough one too. Because again, like, you would think me as a Patriots fan that I would hate more teams that weren't the Patriots. Like, I would hate the Jets, but I really don't hate the Jets. I just kind of feel bad for the Jets. If I were to root for any team, wouldn't be the Cowboys, wouldn't be the Steelers, wouldn't be the Ravens, definitely wouldn't be the Jets or the Giants. Maybe the Chiefs. Because I love a lot of what the Chiefs have been doing. Love Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I would probably go with the Chiefs. And for baseball, if the Mets didn't exist, well, we know what team, let me rephrase that. We know what two teams they wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the Yankees, and it wouldn't be the Marlins. Everybody else is fair game. I would probably go with, man, that's a tough one. That's really a tough one. Oh, man, that's really tough. You know what? Just because I'm very excited about what the future would bring, just because I really like their stadium, I really like their city, would go with the Padres. I think I might go with the Padres. Um, I was going to go with the White Sox, but I think I would probably take the Padres over them. So yeah, we'll go with the Padres. What team has the biggest advantage with a shortened 60-game season? Probably teams like the Padres and teams like the White Sox, because you can add all of these prospects that you're building up to their player pool, and you could actually have them ready just in case they're needed. And you can actually get a glimpse of, what they're going to do or what they can do. So teams like the White Sox, teams like the Padres, teams like, more up-and-coming teams like the Blue Jays. I would also go with teams that had very good first halves last year, so I would go with the Phillies. There are quite a few teams that could have advantages going into this shortened season. Chris Rubio. I've read that Sting wants one more match and he would like his opponent to be The Undertaker. Now, this match should have taken place at WrestleMania 31, but if WWE can come up with a way to make this match happen similar to the Boneyard match, would you like to see it? No. Especially if they did it like the Boneyard match. Because I feel like Undertaker versus Sting, and I understand that putting them in a match similar to the Boneyard match hides their weaknesses right now. But it's Undertaker versus Sting. That match has been a dream match ever since the 90s. That match deserves the proper spotlight. That match deserves to be a mid-card or even semi-main event WrestleMania match. Not a cinematic theater match, a pure match. Even though Sting hasn't wrestled in 5 years, even though Undertaker is another year older, if I were to get one more Undertaker match, that would be the one. That would easily be the one. I would have said Cena, but we got that. But it would have to be Taker and Sting. And they would have to have an actual match. Not a theater match, a cinematic match, whatever you want to call it. An actual match. Yes, I would like to see it. Favorite Extreme Rules matches? I'm going to assume you mean Extreme Rules pay-per-view matches. Unless you're asking me like what my favorite stipulation matches are, I'm going to go with the pay-per-view matches. Edge versus Jeff Hardy from 2009. Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio, also from 2009. Punk versus Jericho from 2012. The Shield versus Evolution from 2014. Roman Reigns versus Big Show from 2015. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles from 2016, the show that I was actually attending, or the show that we actually attended, I should say. If there was another one, maybe the Fatal 4-Way match from that pay-per-view. Other than that, that's all I can think of. With ratings down, do you think WWE should pull the trigger on Otis and have him cash in Money in the Bank? No. I'm really convinced that Otis is not hanging on to the briefcase. I'm still convinced that he's going to lose it somehow. I really cannot see him as world champion. I just can't. Like the guy, but I don't think he's going to be world champion. I really don't. Should WWE just focus more on NXT and have superstars from Raw and SmackDown appear more often on NXT, since NXT is competing with AEW? Yes. Yes. A big argument that I've made over the past couple of years is that nobody on the roster can really draw eyeballs. What better way to see if they can draw eyeballs than to put them in direct competition with AEW and see how many eyeballs they actually get? That's why I actually like that Sasha and Bayley, as women's tag team champions, have actually been appearing on NXT. They've now won, 2 straight weeks in the ratings? I could be wrong on that. I know a lot of you are going to say, well, AEW won the key demographics. Okay, but NXT had more eyeballs on the product. That's the ultimate goal. So, yeah, they should. Surprised that they haven't been. Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships have not been defended in a while. Does this mean long title reigns for both Street Profits and the New Day? New Day probably. Street Profits, no, they're going to continue to hot potato them. I'm sure someone will win it eventually. Now that Patrick Mahomes got the contract extension, which quarterback is next to get one? Is it Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson? I really don't think it's Watson. And I'm hesitant to say Dak Prescott. I really am. Because the Cowboys are really going to need to bulk up around him for an extension to be worth it. So once that happens, maybe he gets extended. But Watson, I don't think gets extended. Will the Jets extend Jamal Adams? If a season happens, will he sit out? Or will he be traded? And to which team does he get traded? I don't see him sitting out. Even the people that sit out ultimately come back. Of course, if he does sit out, then he'll pretend to act like it's because of COVID-19 and it's coronavirus and it's safety when it's actually about money. So if he does sit out, that's going to happen. So that ultimately leads to the question of, do you want this guy on your team? To which I would say no. But will he be extended? I don't see why he would want that. In fairness, he's on the Jets. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. He's on the Jets. Why would you want to stay there? If he gets traded, I honestly don't know which team he goes to. I really don't know. On Monday, the 60-game schedule was released. Which division titles, from the AL and NL are in play, and which division winners from last season will repeat as division champions this year? The second part of your question, I'm going to hold off, because there's a podcast coming up, and I'll have that an announcement about it probably next week. As far as the first part of your question, I think that a few of them would be in play, specifically the NL East, the AL Central, or not the AL Central, the NL Central, and probably the AL West as well. Could even throw the AL East in there too. A few different divisions will be at play. But as far as specific predictions, you're going to have to wait. Any chance the season may wind up being canceled with more players opting out, or will the season go on? Season's going to go on. There's a reason why they expanded active rosters to 30 people. And there's a reason why they expanded the 40-man roster to the 60-man roster. It's so they have enough backup in case something does happen. The season's happening. Whether it looks the same as it would in previous years or not, it's happening. We just got to deal with it, unfortunately. It's happening. Any chance Brooklyn would be able to pick up Gregg Popovich as their next head coach? If he's available, then every single team that needs a head coach should be after him, including the Brooklyn Nets. And they should at least give him an offer. They don't even need to interview him. They don't need to go through any search process, any hiring process. They just need to hear that Gregg Popovich is available and give him an offer. That's what they have to do. Bret Litke, would MLB have seen great player participation and better safety if they opted for the hub city model as opposed to playing in their home cities? Yes. Yes. Especially if the two hub cities were maybe Toronto and one American city that hasn't really been, isn't one of the hot spots. Yes, I think that would have worked. What do you think about individual teams and players speaking out about MLB's poor testing so far? It's good that they're being honest. Because it's just like WWE. These things need to come out. They need to come out. Because just because you're a professional sports league, just because you're making millions and billions of dollars, doesn't mean you're exempt from the world. So, yeah. Do you think MLB is doing all it can to protect its players so far? Clearly not, based on the first question. Listen, cases were going to happen with all these sports. Cases were going to pop up. I don't know why we're so surprised that all of these guys are now coming out testing positive. It was going to happen. It was bound to happen. I don't know if any safety protocols could have avoided that. It was going to happen. Plain and simple. Is someone like Sean Doolittle in the right to speak up against what he views as inadequate testing and safety protocols? Yeah. If Trevor Bauer is allowed to have an entire Twitter thread that's pinned to the top of his Twitter that completely and totally demolishes Rob Manfred, then why isn't Sean Doolittle allowed to have an opinion? If Trevor Bauer is allowed to do that and not have any repercussions or damages done to him, then Sean Doolittle can say whatever he wants. He can. I don't see what the issue is. Do these early missteps by MLB put the season in jeopardy? No. Because they still have, like I mentioned with Chris earlier, they still have huge rosters. They still have several weeks to prepare themselves physically and mentally. And if cases pop up, they have backup. They have backup. The thing about this whole situation, as sad as it sounds, and as much as I morally disagree with it, but factually I get it, everyone's replaceable. Whether you're the top guy or the last guy on the roster, everybody is replaceable. So if one guy goes down, there's someone in the minor leagues that's ready to take your spot. That's why they expanded the rosters. Because they want the season to go on, and it's going to go on. The Nationals had to cancel their workout on Monday because test results have taken longer than 72 hours to come back. Do you think MLB has what it takes to get the test result turnaround time down to 24 hours or less by season start? Yes, I do. Do you think the MLB was too distracted with all the other issues in terms of trying to agree on season length and compensation that safety protocols were perhaps overlooked a bit? And as I'm nodding, you pretty much know my answer. Yes. Yes. They were too busy focusing on how many games, how much money, blah, this and that, and let's play and let's not play, and all of this other stuff that they forgot about the most important issue, which is that there's a virus going around that's killing people. Yeah, they focus too much on other stuff. And now they're going to pay the price for it. Go figure. Walter Main, excuse me. Walter Main, who are the most undeserving MVPs and Cy Young winners since 2000? A couple of Cy Young winners that stand out are 2001 Roger Clemens, because he, and this is going to be a theme for a few of these guys, he had over 20 wins. That's the main reason why he won Cy Young. He was not the best pitcher in the AL. And 2005, as much as I like him, Bartolo Colon, again, he was not the best pitcher. 2016, Rick Porcello was not the best pitcher. But because they won over 20 games, they win Cy Young. So, yeah, those would be three of them. MVPs, Ryan Braun in 2011. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve MVP. I'm just saying Matt Kemp deserved it more because he had better numbers. Who else? Buster Posey in 2012. Who else? Trying to think of like older ones. Yeah, those are the only two I can think of. Who do you think are the top 5 most universally liked and disliked players in baseball today? Top 5, universally liked players today. Mike Trout would have to be one. I had a few in my head a couple of days ago, and now I forgot. Yeah, Mike Trout would easily be number 1. I think if I'm not really trying to rank these in order, but if I needed a number 1, it would be Mike Trout. Again, like I just had these guys in my head. Man, maybe Albert Pujols. Trout, Pujols, Mookie Betts, Jacob deGrom, and if I had to throw a 5th guy in there, maybe Anthony Rizzo. No, you know what? Freddie Freeman. And as far as universally disliked, this is where it gets tricky, because are they universally disliked by players or are they universally disliked by the fans? If we're going to go by the fans, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, and if we're talking today's baseball, 2020, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, and probably Carlos Correa. You can figure out why. If there is any record, or number in baseball considered unobtainable that you think can or will be obtained? At some point, the home run record is going to be broken. I don't know who it's going to be by. I don't know when it's going to take place, but at some point, it's going to be broken. I think that the saves record, Mariano Rivera's saves record, will probably be broken. I can't see any of the starting pitcher stats, like wins or innings pitched, things like that. I can't see them being broken. What else? Um, Maybe the RBI's record can be broken, but I don't see any others that can be. Who is one wrestler you haven't seen live that you want to, and who is one wrestler you can't see live anymore you wish you had seen? Probably Eddie Guerrero for the second part of your question, or Owen Hart. And for the first part of your question, wrestler that I haven't seen live that I want to. Have I seen Kurt Angle? I don't think I've seen Kurt Angle live. I have to. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kurt Angle. Even though that can kind of fall into the second part of the question, I might pick Kurt Angle because I don't think I've seen him. I don't think I've seen him. I have to really think about that. Maybe it was at a house show, but I don't think I've seen him, so I'll probably go with him. What's the next question? Sorry, I'm losing my place here. Where do you see the MLB free agents of 2020-2021 going this offseason? I have to read up on how they're even handling the offseason. From my understanding, whoever was supposed to be a free agent is still going to be a free agent. So the only big name I could think of is Mookie Betts. I don't see him staying with the Dodgers. I don't see him going back to the Red Sox, but I don't know where he goes. So I don't know. If Fight Island is successful, do you see the UFC using it after the pandemic? Yes, I do. Do you see WWE continuing to attempt to protect Aleister Black and possibly giving him a Rumble win this year or Money in the Bank next year? Technically, they're both next year, Walter. Just saying. I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't watched a lot of Raw lately. I would love to know how exactly they're protecting him if they're not really doing anything with him. That's not protecting. That's just not having an idea of what to do. Yeah. Again, I have not been watching that much. So maybe they're doing other things with him. I don't know. But I don't know if it's protection. More so it's we don't know what to do with him. What is your favorite funny botch? not involving Sin Cara or Sid. Damn it. You're gonna make this so easy. And what is the scariest botch you've seen? Scariest botch I've seen. Scariest botch I've seen probably when Austin broke his neck was one of them. And I think Sid's leg injury was scary. The botch itself was scary. I laugh and think it's funny because of the backstory behind it as to why he was doing the move. You know, when you think of Psycho Sid, you don't think of big boots off the second rope. Oh my god. All right, anyway. Yeah, when you think of Sid, you don't think of that. But yet Johnny Ace decided that Psycho Sid needed to expand his offensive repertoire and do a big boot off the second rope, of course. Because nothing could go wrong, right? Yeah, so the botch itself, yes, it was scary. Seeing your leg go in 3 different directions, of course it's going to be scary. The backstory behind it is why I laugh and why I think it's funny. But as far as the funniest botch I've seen, it's gotta be Vince McMahon. It has to be. He slid into the ring, toward a quad, and then got up and tore another one, of course. It's gotta be Vince. It has to be. Oh my god. Is Bill is can't even get back to not laughing now. Excuse me. Is Bill Buckner the most wrongly hated man in baseball history? Yeah, he and Steve Bartman are up there. Um, I don't understand why they were ever hated. Um, Bill Buckner, yeah, he in a way cost his team Game 6 of the 1986 World Series. I could got some interesting thunder going on if you heard that. Yeah, he kind of cost his team Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, but at the same time, the Red Sox also blew 2 leads in that game, and they also had a Game 7 to play. So blaming him solely is ridiculous. And then same thing with Steve Bartman. Is yeah, in that one particular play, yeah, he could have had an out on it. He could have. That didn't stop them from blowing their lead. That also didn't stop them from losing Game 7. So yeah, I would agree with you there. They are, and specifically Buckner. Yes, he is. Which Mets World Series win is more legendary, 1969 or 1986? I will go with 69 because of just how unexpected it was. 86, they were building a dominant team. 69 was just kind of the ending to the culmination of their, how should I put this? The culmination of their expansion. So a lot of the players that you saw were their players. They weren't going out and getting other players. 1986 was just a great team all around. Top 5 stadium foods: hot dog, popcorn, chicken and fries. If you've ever been to Citi Field, I recommend the pastrami burger, and I also recommend Emmy Squared. It's square pizza. It's got pepperoni on it. It's got banana peppers on it. It's really, really good. What do you think about Chris Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan in a biopic? I think they picked a good enough person in terms of size and in terms of having the blonde hair and all that stuff. I don't know if he has the character to do it, but we'll see. Let me rephrase that. I don't think he has like the energy level that a Hogan had to be able to actually pull it off. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We have to wait until the movie comes out. So I'll reserve my judgment until I see the movie. Will we ever see someone win Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same year again? Yeah, probably, I'm sure. What are your thoughts on Keith Lee, and do you see him being successful on the main roster? Thoughts on Keith Lee? I really like him. I think he is a perfect fit in WWE, but unfortunately, considering that they waited so long to make Braun Strowman a big deal, I don't know if I can see Keith Lee becoming a big deal. But again, time will tell. Do you think the Undisputed Era will go to Raw and SmackDown as a group, or do you think they'll break up in NXT beforehand? I could see them breaking up beforehand. I think there are enough groups going on right now to where we don't really need another one on the main roster, so I think they would break up first. Was there ever a record or number in baseball you thought wouldn't be obtained that was? Lou Gehrig's consecutive game streak. I didn't think anybody would break that. And Cal Ripken not only tied it and not only broke it, but he went an extra 3 years with it. That's crazy. Other than that, yeah, I think that's it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how absurd is it that WWE is doing a match where you have to remove someone's eye? 83 times 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Just let Ray and Rollins have a match. Why do you need to make it dumb? Go figure. WWE making something dumb. Anyway, that's the rest. That's the questions. Let me rephrase this. Let's start over. Those are the questions for this Q&A. If you have more questions for next week's Q&A, go to our pages down below in the description box and send the questions my way. There we go. I got it right. Thank God. Not as long as the last 2 videos, but still pretty long. I thank you guys for the questions. I'll see you guys next week.